right, we're back in it with Kamen Rider Geats episodes 10 through 19. This batch of episodes had some of the highest of highs and most mid of the mid for me and Reiwa, but I'm here to run through my thoughts and first impressions of this batch of episodes as a whole. If you haven't watched my first video going through episodes 1 through 9, and if you haven't watched any episodes of Kamen Rider Geats, maybe check it out, because there will be spoilers for everything from episodes 1 through 19 in this video. Now, enough talk, let's get to the highlights. Sumuri opens episode 10 by revealing that Ukyo Ace's wish was to be a member of the DGP staff, and the wish manifests as Sumuri being his sister and Giori being his father. In addition to this wish, we find out a few of Ace's past wishes from his past victories. A world where I will always be eligible for the Desire Grand Prix, a world where I won't have to work, and another one we kinda can't see. After trying to learn more about who runs the Desire Grand Prix, Ace and Sumuri seek out Michinaga Azuma to invite him to compete once again. We cut to the start of the next DGP, where the Game Master, who is revealed to be Giori, watches on with his eyes on Haruya win, although we might know him better as the Kamen Rider Punkjack. Compared to his last appearance, he's got a lot more energy and a lot more to say. The first round begins with a game of Capture the Flag. Each player is matched up in a team and tasked with defending a flag against hordes of Yamato pirates. Geats and Punkjack get paired up in a team, while Michinaga pairs up with a young woman and an old man named Yuki Yaganuma and Itetsu Tanba. By the way, I'm pretty sure they spelt his name wrong in the show. This is how it's spelled. And they spell it like this, so I don't know what that's about. At the Kurema residence, Neon is given a document containing an arranged partner for her to marry, to which she accepts without reluctance. As she looks over these papers, her father reveals that she has a guest waiting, Sumuri. As Buffa's flag is about to be captured, a familiar cat hops into frame, as Kamen Rider Nago is granted a late entry into the Desire Grand Prix, and with a new buckle to boot. After cleaning up the crowd of Yamato with the beat buckle, everyone returns to the waiting room to find their numbers are much lower than before. With only 5 players left, Neon and Ace talk about their desire for this Grand Prix, and behind the scenes, Win and the Game Master discuss a plan to take down Ace. In episode 11, Keiwa is still struggling to find motivation to work, spending his time buying lottery tickets hoping to win it big. After boarding a bus, Keiwa and everyone else on board fall into a fissure in the ground. Meanwhile, Neon and Ace discuss their talks from the last episode about Ace's mother. Whenever Ace tries to write a desire about his mother at all, it erases itself, meaning that for some reason there's something about Ace's mom that is off limits to know about. After pondering what could be the reasoning behind this mystery, they're called into another round of the DGP. This round will take place on a mansion estate where a puzzle must be solved to exit the premises. But whilst looking for clues and answers, players must avoid Yamato and protect civilians that are trapped in the play area. One of those civilians being Keiwa. As the riders are starting to solve the puzzle, they're ambushed by a swarm of Yamato maids and butlers, and are caught off guard when 2 Yamato seem to put on belts and henshin? As the fighting continues, everyone retreats into the mansion to find the solution to the puzzle and escape with their lives. Giori helps out the players by dropping special buckles for everyone, but only Win is able to find one before the Yamato pick them all up. Geats and Itetsu protect Keiwa and the other civilians from another ambush, and Itetsu unfortunately is left grievously injured by a Yamato rider. Just as things start to get hairy, Geats picks up a loot box off of Yamato and finds another new buckle, the Fever Buckle. After showcasing a few new moves and clearing out the remaining Yamato ambush with the Boost Striker, meaning that I lost a bet from my last video, everyone retreats further into the mansion to defend themselves, while another Yamato picks up a Desire Driver and transforms. Looks like any Yamato can become a rider. Episode 12 continues with the players escaping into the mansion. As they get cornered, Itetsu relinquished his rights to be a rider to Keiwa. Somehow, I guess. Keiwa comes to his senses, regains his will to help, and once again joins the DGP. Geats ends up revealing to everyone that Win is actually a Desire Grand Prix staff member. With a little help from Geats, everyone solves the puzzle and clears the game. In the end, Keiwa tells Geats about his new desire, to bring back everyone eliminated by the DGP. Episode 13 opens on Gyorori and Ace discussing why the Game Master would want to get rid of Geats. Though he has his suspicions, Ace can't quite tell that Gyorori is actually the Game Master yet. Keiwa's sister Sarah was lucky enough to land him an apprenticeship at his favorite restaurant. After Ace gets a mysterious proposition from a businesswoman, Keiwa notices a young girl with a red hat walking past his shop. As he goes outside to investigate, his ID core falls to the ground. Strange. Meanwhile, Neon pushes her father on the topic of the Desire Grand Prix, and after being deflected question after question, she too ends up seeing the young girl walk by. As she chases her, her ID core falls too. While Michinaga is out on a run, the same thing happens to him and Ace as well. As Ace picks up his core, he catches up with the girl and notices that she's stolen his driver. When Yamato surprises Ace, Win shows up to gang up on Geats while he's defending civilians. The girl with the red hat continues to pester Ace and Win, and ends up walking away with one of their drivers, while the other one falls into the hands of a Yamato. With everyone's driver stolen, it's revealed that today's game is a game of musical chairs. Once the main Yamato is defeated, anyone with the driver will continue to the next round. The search for the little girl begins as everyone starts looking for any sights of the girl with the red hat. Michinaga, Ace, and Win all end up together as they search for their drivers. After fending off some Yamato, Keiwa and Neon arrive to help. After being pushed to exhaustion, the businesswoman from before and a mysterious man watch the round from a conference room. Then, with the twitch of a finger, Ace receives a buckle that even Gyorori hasn't seen before. Ace asks to borrow Keiwa's driver, just to defeat the Yamato rider. Tycoon agrees, hands over his driver, and Geats tries out the Command Twin buckle.
Great. Ready. Fight.
After defeating enough enemies with the Raising Sword, a second buckle can be removed to create the Command Twin Jet and Command Twin Cannon buckles. After defeating the Yamato rider, Michinaga snags the last remaining driver, leaving Ace and Win driverless.
狐には化かされねえよ。
Episode 14! It opens on some incredible transformations and fight scenes from our riders as they battle Yamato. When Keiwa gets close to one of the Yamato riders, he hears something familiar. Win taunts Ace about both of them being eliminated, and how the Game Master says his memories will be restored. But when he asks the Game Master for his ID core back, he's double-crossed, leaving Win in the wind. After opening up to Ace and revealing information about the Game Master, Win helps him get a driver to fulfill his wish. Meanwhile, after sending her bodyguards to investigate her father's involvement in the DGP, Neon is conflicted about what exactly she's fighting for. Keiwa reminds her to save the world and create your dream world, right? After defeating the Yamato riders, Gyorori's identity is revealed by Ace. With the cat out of the bag, Gyorori pulls out a driver and transforms into a brand new Kamen Rider, Kamen Rider Glare. After laying a smackdown, Glare uses an ability to mind control Punkjack and steal the final driver from Ace as the round comes to a close. With only one player driverless, it's over for Kamen Rider Geats.
Retired.
As episode 15 begins, so does the start of this Grand Prix finale, but not for our main character. Ace awakens with a clean head, not remembering anything from his time as a Kamen Rider. Even though Gyorori broke the rules by interfering, everything seems normal. Meanwhile, the final boss Yamato appears, and Neon, Keiwa, and Michinaga suit up and head out to take care of it. But when they arrive, The gravity of the situation starts to set in. Ace arrives on the scene, confused at the events occurring since he doesn't remember the DGP, Yamato, or even what a Kamen Rider is. As Buffa becomes enraged at Ace's attempts to help, he begins lashing out at everyone, saying that he can't stand someone who tramples over others just to get what they want. Unfortunately, Buffa's attacks against the Yamato battleship fails, as he's defeated and disappears.
Mission failed.
With things looking pretty bad, Ace jumps to the rescue, having regained his memories after touching Michinaga's ID core. After using a loophole in one of his past wishes to gain entry back into the DGP, and I'm not going to explain it, I'm just going to say that, Geats sets out to defeat the Yamato boss with some dope-ass moves. But after defeating him, the game doesn't seem to end. So, what's going on?
Henshin. Henshin.
We open on Girori convincing Neon and Keiwa to take part in what he calls the Desire Playoffs, a final game to decide the victor of the Desire Grand Prix. The game? A fox hunt. Episode 16 follows our crew struggling to fight against Geats, knowing he fights for their dreams as well. But it appears something is a little off about this round. And it's not just that there's an Instagram filter on the entire first part of the episode. As Keiwa and Neon start to piece together the puzzle of what exactly is going on, they each break off to build up resolve for the mission at hand. And in Neon's case, reach out to her father with the information her bodyguards found out to get a little extra help. While all that's happening, Tycoon gets his hands on the raising buckle. Then, during a fight between Tycoon and Geats, Girori henshins and steps in to secretly backstab Geats. But just as he's about to strike, Tycoon launches a counterattack. Turns out, Geats was being sabotaged by the Game Master by using Punk Jack's body as a bomb to defeat him. And Neon went behind the scenes and reported Girori to the DGP. She arrives with Niram, the producer of the DGP, and that one benefactor who gave Ace the Command Twin Buckle. After being scolded by Girori, Tycoon chimes in to echo some of Michinaga's last words. And after a hearty struggle, Kamen Rider Glare is rescinded of his powers, and Girori is stripped of his title as Game Master. With such a power vacuum left in the DGP, major changes need to take place to bring everything back to status quo. So, Sumuri decides to let everyone in on a secret. The Desire Grand Prix is actually a reality show watched on by interdimensional viewers. What a twist! As the episode ends, we see Michinaga's body arrive at the garden where Yamato grow. Except he's still breathing. With a new series of the Desire Grand Prix beginning, it's time for a new cast of characters! Episode 17 begins with two new players, Kamen Rider Naj Sparrow, Quizmaster Isuzu Daichi, and Kamen Rider Lopo, renowned athlete Ganaha Sai. Immediately, the new players recognize Ace from prior DGPs and begin sizing up the competition, and everyone ignores Keiwa entirely. The first round begins with the Academy game, a game I'm sure we all already know the rules to. Jokes aside, basically it's just a race to see who can defeat the principal Yamato. It's kind of like a dungeon raid. Back in the break room, the players find out that in addition to the new structure of the Desire Grand Prix, everyone will also be bunking together in the DGP facilities, Big Brother style. They also get to meet the new Game Master replacing Girori, a man named Kiram. He's loud, eccentric, and plays everything to the camera for the many viewers of the DGP. Kiram introduces another twist to the format with the Disaster. One of the 5 players is a traitor who must complete secret tasks to achieve their victory while tripping up the other players. At the end of each round, players will vote for who they think the Disaster is. The player with the most votes is eliminated. Michinaga wakes up to the strange man who raises the Yamato working. He's basically like, hey, are you the Yamato's father?
Oh, Michinaga, you're so cool. God, don't you want to be bad, Michinaga?
Meanwhile, Ace is pulled into a pocket dimension of overexposed shapes by a man with a blue streak in his hair. He commends Ace for fighting back against Giori and introduces himself as Jean. It seems he knows more than he leads Ace to believe. While Daichi flexes his big ol' brain by predicting what everyone's wish is if they win the DGP, Ace rejoins the group to reveal that this time, he wished to become a DGP Game Master. After returning to the Yamato school to complete the round, Geats completes a secret mission to attain the powered Builder Buckle and uses it to trap the Yamato principal. With the first round over, no players will be eliminated via voting, so everyone can get more comfortable with the new format. But while everyone is busy competing, Michinaga learns that the Yamato are fighting for their desired world too, as the next Yamato steps up and transforms into
Kamen Rider Shiroe?
Episodes 18 and 19 are interspersed with talking booth segments where our competing riders are interviewed about their thoughts on the identity of the disaster. Everyone is suspecting everyone of being a traitor. Even when Keiwa makes food for the competitors, he's accused of foul play. Little does everyone know that the next round of the DGP will have them teaming up more than they'd like. In between rounds, Keiwa visits an orphanage offering to help, when he's attacked by Yamato riders and the Shiroe Yamato, known as Rook. Rook then throws a ball through a holographic hoop to score his team 5 points. Looks like round 2 is beginning sooner than everyone thought. With no time to lose, the riders gather to play a game of Jammer Ball, a game I'm sure we all already know the rules to.
要はドリブルのない足が使えるバスケみたいなものか。
Okay, I know the rules to that. With all the effort they can muster, the rider team bands together and is able to score a point, but basically forget about the 3-point line, which is actually the 5-point line, meaning that our heroes are still behind on points. Then, with almost no effort at all, Team Yamato scores 3 points. Tycoon then has a realization. His suspicions were correct. The Rook Yamato is saying words spoken by Kamen Rider Shiroe. Feeling conflicted over possibly hurting the same people he's been vowing to protect, he hesitates to play defense and only blocks shots. After the end of the first half, the consensus between everyone is that Keiwa is definitely the disaster. Daichi confronts Keiwa about his behavior during the first half of the round. Keiwa reveals his theory to Daichi, who buys into it, telling Keiwa to keep it a secret as it's bad for team morale. At the Yamato greenhouse, Michinaga does some snooping and manages to steal a driver as well as his cracked ID core. When he gets caught by a Yamato rider outside the premises, he tries to henshin but is electrocuted by his glitchy driver. However, after struggling with it, Michinaga slams his ID core into place and becomes Kamen Rider Buffa once more. Putting his all into defending himself against the Yamato hordes at hand, he makes a daring move by equipping the same buckle the Yamato used to henshin. With the new Yamato buckle now powering his suit, Michinaga stumbles away from the fight to discover a city overtaken by foliage. That night, the riders are winding down when Daichi accuses Keiwa of being the disaster in front of everyone. Keiwa tries to defend himself, but since he's not good at anything, he just lets Daichi take his ninja buckle. Like he just takes it. Meanwhile, in the pocket dimension of overexposed shapes, a lawn ornament frog in a suit named Kakera plans a secret mission to help out Keiwa. At the start of the second half of Jammer Ball, Tycoon gets his raising buckle from a secret mission that seems custom made for him. After overpowering the Rook Yamato, it shapeshifts into the form of Kamen Rider Shiroe, seemingly confirming Tycoon's suspicions. But before he can learn more, Naj Sparrow attacks Rook, forcing Tycoon to fight back to protect Shiroe. However, this is all according to Daichi's plan, feigning defeat to make Tycoon look even more like the disaster. Starting episode 19, we get right into the action. Sports, sports, and more sports. As the scores get higher and higher, our riders start wondering how they'll be able to close the gap. Geats pulls out a new buckle that gives him the weapon from the Magnum buckle. In the nick of time, Geats is able to score 10 points and end the game in a draw. Cool. Kinda wish he did that earlier. But that means there's still a round of overtime approaching. With 3 players already placing their vote for Keiwa as the disaster, Keiwa's fate is looking grim. But just then, Keiwa is called upon by his supporter, Kakera, to meet each other for the first time. Kakera reveals he's the reason the boost buckle always ends up in Keiwa's hands, even though he always gives it up. Ace catches Michinaga strolling around town and shares a lunch with him. Michinaga talks about his experience on the other side after losing. Ace learns that the Yamato feed off used ID cores and realizes Michinaga might be leaning more towards Team Yamato than Team Rider. After Ace offers to help fix his ID core, Michinaga walks off, declaring that he'll achieve his dream by his own means and not be used by the Yamato. That night, Ace offers to cook Keiwa some beefa and discuss his meeting with Buff. Cook him some beef and discuss his meeting with Buffa. The next day, the overtime round begins, and after Tycoon resolves to win the game himself, Geats goes out of his way to prove that the Yamato aren't deceased riders, and that they actually just copy their looks, memories, and mannerisms. With suspicion placed on Najsparrow now, Tycoon gains the trust of Lobo and Nago again. Now all powered up, Keiwa is aided by his teammates and scores the game-winning point. But the suspense isn't over yet. With the round finished, everyone still has to vote for who they think the disaster is. After the votes are tallied, the first player eliminated is Daichi by a landslide. However, he was not the disaster. Finally, back in the overgrown city, Niram and his assistant drop off Michinaga, who feigns being passed out to eavesdrop on their conversation. Niram reveals that they have big plans for him, and hopes to see him return as a Yamato and fight on their side. It seems Niram is up to nefarious things as well. With our two main riders now familiar with their supporters from behind the scenes, the curtains concealing the truth of the DGP have begun to unfurl. This time around, I found myself explaining a lot more of the show than I'd like to, but now that the story is beginning to grow legs, more aspects of the show are starting to jump out at me. So far, I thought episodes 10 to 16 were kind of a drag. There were a lot of neat lore bits that I really liked, like the Yamato learning to read during the Labyrinth game, and also the Yamato team beginning to take shape and starting to be Michinaga and all the powerful Yamato. But once again, I find myself getting a little tired at how easily victory and success come to Geats. I don't ever feel like he's in danger or at risk of truly losing anything. I understand that that really isn't his character, since he's more of an aloof and confident type who really gets stuff done on their own plan. I get it. But for me, that's just not a character that I enjoy all too much. The new riders we get to meet are welcome additions, but I find myself wanting to see what their helmets would look like with all of the buckles, and the fact that they never stay around too long, it feels like a missed opportunity. Story-wise, I'm a huge fan of the reality show direction. I think that it's almost stronger than the original concept of Battle Royale. I would have liked to see them just kind of hash this reality show version out over the course of the last 10 episodes. The addition of the disaster adds an interesting dynamic as well, but they also introduced this concept I didn't explain called approval ratings. In addition to voting for who you think the disaster is, the viewers of the DGP vote for who their favorite rider is, and whoever has the lowest rating gets disqualified? That's kind of confusing. Don't we already have a gameplay mechanic where a player is voted out every round? Why introduce this mechanic now when it has no bearing on the result of the game? I get that it exists in the case of the scenario where we vote off the disaster early, but why add it into the mix at all as if it matters? Right now, it doesn't matter, and it seems like they intend to play out this disaster plot until the last second, though it would be a nice twist if they vote off the disaster, then just go back to the normal game mode. Daichi and Sai are really interesting characters, and I wish we had more time with Daichi before he was voted off. Hopefully we get to see more action from Sai in the future, and maybe even see her be more of an antagonist? As for who I think the disaster is, I already know what the answer is since I'm caught up on the show and this video is a bit behind. But I suspected it would be Ace the entire time. Michinaga's side of the story is starting to pick up some hefty steam. In my last video, I remarked how his story interested me, and this batch of episodes is no different. I hope we get to see him with the power-up on par with Geats and Tycoon, as well as maybe learn more about his thought process and his emotions behind his wish. I find it nice how Ace still wants to make amends with him as a rival too. but Michinaga's very much just like on a warpath, keeping his distance, not talking to Geats, wants to kill all riders. I like the dynamic of Ace trying his hardest to be as aloof but helpful as possible. Neon's connection to the DGP is also of note. Finding out her father has ties to the game producer is intriguing, and seeing how Neon is adapting to the new Desire Grand Prix format has been kinda cute. The Keiwa hate train continues. Not a fan of his motivations or character, so this batch of episodes was a blast to watch him get disrespected and being the butt of the jokes. As for Kamen Rider Glare, I don't like him. I think the belt clashes completely with the aesthetic of all the other belts. Sound-wise, it sounds completely different from most of the other sounds that the belts make. Presentation-wise, it looks cool, and the suit's fine, but it just doesn't match. I don't know, it just sticks out to me. There's some theories as to why it stands out, but I'm gonna save those for the next batch of episodes. Whew, gosh, I almost forgot about the other characters that got introduced, the supporters. Jin's excitement and fawning over Geats was fun, and I enjoy how cryptically he eggs on Ace. Kakera is weird. I like his vibe, but the fact that for now he's presented as a lawn ornament in a pocket dimension of overexposed shapes, I have my reservations. Game producer Nieram's motivations also seem to elude me. It's hard to really pinpoint his goals or what he's trying to protect. I'm wondering if he'll become our next big bad if the Yamato are ever taken care of. Oh gosh, and then there's the Yamato caretaker. He has big bad energy as well. I didn't even talk about Win. I thought Win was awesome. Him getting disqualified is a bummer. I really hope we see him again. Punk Jack is awesome. I liked Punk Jack when he was quiet. I liked him when he was loud. I'm full circle. I think Punk Jack's just clean character. I love the dynamic between him and Ace every time they talked with each other, and I just, how did we win? You're so cool. Oh yeah, and then there's the fight scenes. The fight scenes in these episodes were crazy. I breezed through most of the action moments in my summary, but I assure you, some of the highest quality fights in a while are showcased in these 10 episodes. You'll see riders henshin in time with smooth camera motions, you'll watch special effects blend seamlessly with hand-to-hand combat, and a lot of the shots are filled to the brim with style and panache. Mostly, the fights with Michinaga get intense, but Geats has some really sweet moments that I'm sure people have already made gifs of. Whew, God, I feel like I've been talking about this show for hours. What's next? Alright, lots of buckles to go over this time. The concept behind the beat buckle is really sweet, and the weapon that comes with it resembling a Guitar Hero controller is hilarious to me. The fact that it seems to be Nago's signature buckle is odd, since her colors don't naturally match with it. The versatility of the weapon being able to use what seems like 3 different elemental attacks is wicked. Fever Buckle, aesthetic home run. As soon as you see the buckle, you understand what it does, and the prospect of getting the same buckle on top and bottom got me really excited to see what they could do with it. Also, each rider has a unique accessory that becomes gold once they equip the Fever Buckle, and I think the small unique detail among riders is actually really nice. The Raising Buckle. Not a fan of the jet and cannon form, and having the buckle only give you a visor and a sword to start looks kinda bland compared to every other base buckle. The sound design and colors are on point. The gray and orange to blue look is really clean. Once fully charged, the full suit looks so cumbersome and bulky. And even though there's probably a reason for it, the aesthetic of this buckle is different from every other buckle, so it stands out in a weird way for me compared to the other suits. Having a buckle for the Yamato riders to use instead of using another normal buckle is a sweet idea, but it also seems so dangerous that Team Rider probably won't ever touch it. The way the vines grow underneath Buffa's cracked eye and leave the light behind it burnt out is so cool. Really love how it interacts with the suit. Plus it gives him that sweet spiky collar that makes him look like an edgelord. The Powered Builder Buckle is probably my favorite that we see in this batch. The way it's used in combat is super unique. This buckle has utility, offensive, and defensive capabilities that other buckles cannot stack up to. I don't know why it also needs the ability to swap out different unique weapon buckles as well as the ability to create structures, but I won't look a gift horse in the mouth in this case. I'll keep it kind of quick because I've been talking for a while. I think Nodge Sparrow's head looks weird. I think Lopo's head is cool, but her color is kind of a little too bright. Glaire's suit has a lot of good detail, and the VFX around it are really good. Again, just no strong feelings. Now, Since the release of this video is a bit later than I wanted it to be, I'll save the predictions for when I end up ahead. For now, I'll say that I was excited about the new Desire Grand Prix format. I was enjoying the period of time where it was up in the air if Dead Riders were becoming Yamato or not. Now that it's confirmed they're just manifestations of the riders, I'm starting to wonder if we'll see a Yamato take the form of a dead rider but learn to fight for peace between Yamato and humans instead of against them. Maybe it could even be Michinaga's deceased friend? I don't know. This batch of episodes was fun to watch, but substance-wise, my favorite moments come from the later episodes. I think the action and choreography are phenomenal, and I'm excited to see what fantastic heights the fights achieve. And the sound design is still crisp and satisfying too. In all honesty, it took me a while to make this video because of how middle of the road, almost disappointed I was in this batch of episodes. But there's still so much to enjoy here that I can't imagine not recommending it or even not watching it. I may feel differently after the next video, but for now, keep up the action, and please give Nago another power-up. That's it for this video. What do you think about episodes 10 through 19? Which episode stood out to you? Did you notice how awesome the action is? Leave a comment and shout out your favorite deceased rider. R.I.P. Kamen Rider Letter. If you like this video, subscribe for more. Ciao!